Hi, everyone, and welcome to Real Beans. Thanks for tuning in to Episode 10, Part 2 of Nitro Beams and B-Movie Dreams. Today, Danielle and I return to the wondrous land of Metaluna as we dive deeper into the 1955 sci-fi classic, This Island Earth. If you haven't listened to Part 1 yet, I recommend that you go back before you get beamed up. It'll give you all the context you need for today's conversation. So buckle up, grab your coffee, and enjoy the second half of Episode 10. Yep.
And you're thinking, okay, and that enabled the aliens to control them. And this is sort of a different take on that. So what's happening in this sort of sun lamp thing that they describe that gets your brain cells scrambled, but you become completely controllable. You don't have a personality anymore. You're just there to do a job. Oof.
But as we mentioned earlier about how once that happens, it seems to have the cause and effect of the whole thing is that now they're slower. They're not able to talk to each other and throw ideas back and forth to try to fix things. So that's why it's getting slower and slower. And the
Counterproductive.
The leaders, right? And the leaders of Metaluna are like, "What's taking so long? We don't have time for this anymore. You have to go to Plan A. Plan A."
Right. It's like, take time. We got to get them. I know how to work with them. Exeter says, basically, I know these people. I've lived among them. I know how they tick. I know how they move along. Let me handle it.
Well, it's also nice, too, that a lot of times when we see these 1950s alien movies, the aliens are the bad guys and evil. And here they're like nice beings, as it were. And they're not there to harm anybody. They're just trying to find a way to help their planet.
Right. Well, I would say for me, Exeter was the only one. It was sort of, for me, again, I think back to like The Day the Earth Stood Still, where, the main alien was a wonderful guy and there to teach us a major lesson. Of course, he had strong people, working behind him and the robot and the whole bit. So it was like this, but Exeter, Brack, the right-hand man of Exeter, heartless. And the guy on Metaluna who's telling him to do all this stuff is not a good guy, But there's it was sort of getting to that point of, hey, let's look at each other as the lesson, I think, as, we're not that different. And just because we come from a different planet doesn't mean we're bad. And the first thing we do when we get off the spaceship, and this is Day the Earth Still, is American Army fires at them and, try and kills the guy, or sort of.
Right.
So I think that's it. You do start to have these alien creatures that have a soul and that want to work with us, not against us.
Right. They're not there to cause harm and panic and destruction. Right. They're there for the greater good of their community and their planet, and hoping that there would be a connection together. Which, of course, we in our real lives, if there were any type of aliens that would to come in and say hello, it would be the whole effect of shooting at them. We don't like you. We don't understand you. But you see that with Exeter in the film, how he's like gotten to know all the scientists to speak to and about them and who they are. So he's been able to it's that whole adage of you go talk to somebody, you learn about them, and then they're not so bad as what you think they are. As opposed to the other Metalunans who are they're all focused on Plan A. We got to get this done. We're here for this. We don't want to learn about these people. We don't care about them. We just care about our planet. So it's again that's
use
sort
them,
of
get
similar.
The information, move on. Right.
Exactly. It's the same. It's that same structure of you have one person fighting against the society of well, we don't care. We just want us. But I want to know about them. We can use them. We can all gather all this information and learn from each other in many ways. And of course, the majority is always no, they're evil. We don't want to talk to them. We just want their information, and then go forward.
Right. Exactly. And it's a lovely kind of message in there too. If you see it a few times, you start getting that. And that I'm just so charmed by this film. But there's just so many levels.
I was just going to say that's what elevates, I think, this movie from being a B picture to being what I would consider more of an A type picture, because it does have more layers to it than just shoot, 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 space,
Mm-hmm.
space, space, and the end.
Exactly. Multi-layered and fun. It just, and if you can get through it, like the exposition period, I'm sure there are people out there, I'd love to talk to them, who really love that section of the film, and it's important for setting up the story. But I'm like you, it comes to life on the plane. But it I don't know, it was just so of the time. I was watching another film that we'll go into some other time, but they had this whole thing in the beginning where the scientist comes on with a globe and starts talking about, it's like it was like science and what's going on, and then you go into this completely different movie. It's like it was a thing. It was
Right.
something that the films did. Had to teach you a lesson. If you're going to go to the movies and see this frothy this fun stuff, you got to get a lesson in there somewhere. It's true in them. It's true in the mole people. I mean, it's
Oh,
all over the
yes.
place.
Oh, I
So
love that.
my idea of what this was. I do too. It's one of my faves.
I think, and I have nothing against the opening segment of it. Like, I think it's not like it's a bad, it's not very slow,
Mm-mm.
really. It still sets up things quite nicely. But I think just because we don't get enough afterwards of more character development, I feel like that first part could have just been shortened to a really short bit. And then we
I'm
can
with
get
you
into the
100%.
nitty gritty of the scientists. And then we can get more
Mhm.
invested into it and have more suspense and more, as I was saying, like when things start
Right.
going wrong and all the people are being blown up, it's like then you have a little bit more invested in them and you're like, oh, these characters. Whereas right now you're sort of like, we don't really know them, so oh dear, they've been shot at. Now we got to move on to the next thing.
Right. And that was funny too with Brack. When he's like with the screen and they're trying to escape, it was like a video game for
Right.
him, to kind of zap him down with these weird lights that were coming, and he does it.
Uh,
And they're hiding out, underwater somewhere in a lake. But it was like, oh my God, that was like a precursor to all the video game zapping and all that stuff.
oh,
But anyway,
can we talk
I
for a moment
digress.
quickly? Can we talk for a moment quickly about
Mhm.
that moment when they get out of the water and are going to the small plane that they try to get out of, and you see the rise of the UFO in the distance come up, and it's like above the
I
horizon.
love that.
It was like kind of chilling a little bit, but also like very thrilling because it didn't look cheesy at all. I mean, everything looked perfect in that moment, and you're just like, you just see it behind the hill, and it's like, ooh, there it is. We haven't seen it until this point,
Yeah.
so it's like
That's
it's a
right. That's
grand
right.
deal.
It's the debut. It's the light. I agree. It's like on the horizon. It's the light. You imagine it sort of like at twilight, and also there's the sound effects. It's like
Yes,
nothing that you've ever heard, and I find it very cozy, but I'm strange. But it was like, "Ooh, here we go." You know? "Oh, it's starting." And where did it come from? It must have been, well, they were talking about it must have
the
been
big
in the
whole
earth,
thing
right?
that they were like, let's go check this out and see what it is, and so that's your
There we
first
go.
sort of glimpse of like, oh, well, that's where the spaceship is hiding.
That's where they kept it. Yeah. Sort of reminiscent to me, again, of Invaders from Mars. Because when
Right.
the spaceship lands, it goes into this mountain where people are, coming in. And I thought, oh, there's a little touch of the hat to the 1953 version of Invaders from Mars. But yes, oh my God, that is electrifying when they're coming out and that it comes up, and I just think, ooh, all right, this is where
It's
the ride
such
gets
a
exciting.
Exactly, it's such a great reveal. I just love how it's just,
Mhm.
you're not really expecting it until that moment, and all of a sudden, it's just like the curtain opens, and now we're in the grand opus.
Yes, yes, we're right there. Oh,
Since we were talking about the sound effects, I was gonna suggest we go into talking about the score, that beautiful score.
absolute
This
beautiful
is one of the big
score.
selling points of this movie.
It is. It is. And so many levels, and until we decided to do this and talk about it, and I looked into actually who wrote the score, I had no idea Henry Mancini had something to do with this.
Right,
And
there were 3
3 com
composers. I'll just quickly read off who they were. That was, Henry Mancini, which you just mentioned, who most people know from,
Mhm.
like, Breakfast at Tiffany's and the Pink Panther theme, and you can hear it
Mhm.
in the score. You can hear his influence in the score, and then you have
Absolutely.
2 others who are not as familiar as Henry Mancini might be, but Hans Salter, who apparently has 6 Oscar nominations for scores that he did. And I was like, oh, I had no, I didn't,
believe
but
it.
I didn't really know the
Yeah.
titles that he did. So, but I was like, wow. And then Herman Stein, and this is where I was like, oh, I see a lot of his influence because he did King Kong versus Godzilla. And he also
Oh,
did a lot
wow.
of B-movie westerns. So you can kind of see like the influence of all 3 of their scores kind of coming together, and it really works. Nothing really sounds like,
Beautifully.
yeah, it all sounds like it was written right like that. It was supposed to be written like that.
Exactly.
And
Yes, I agree.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Nothing sounds like, oh, that's just Henry
Yeah.
Mancini. I can tell that. Or that it just
No.
all, it's that opera feel. It's the space opera, as they say, of that time period.
Yes, and it was just yes, it mixed beautifully. It was a beautiful melange of all 3 of the composers and just top-notch stuff. I mean, just top-notch. I don't know how I ever missed this at the time. I mean, not at the time, it was before my time, way before my time, but this is a classic to me. And you have your question, camp or classic. I'm I for me, personally, this is a classic sci-fi. Now, campy bits to it? Yes, of course, but that's part of what makes it classic to me, you know?
Well, absolutely, and that it gives some charm to it, I think, too. But it's not too much camp in it, really, because it is very grounded in their storytelling element of it. And I know a lot of people. I watch some of these comedian reviewers who were talking about like the giant heads and the foreheads and like, oh, the monster, and they're focusing on those elements of it, whereas looking at the entirety of the film, it does. I would say it's probably more of a cult classic now than a camp classic.
I agree,
But it's a
100%.
but even then, sometimes cult films, get a bad rap sometimes. So it's also like I don't want to suggest that it's like going to be a goofy, funny film. It's actually really,
No,
really, considering the time period and considering now, it still holds up pretty well today, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah, I agree,
Uh,
and that's why I was so excited that you hadn't seen it. Anytime somebody says they haven't seen this film, Danielle gets excited because I was like, "Oh, I can't wait to hear what you think. I can't wait to hear what you think." It's like reliving it all over again from the first time I saw it. But, yeah, I think it really is one of the best of that era for me. And that is right in line for me with not only the Invaders from Mars, but like you say, The Day the Earth Stood Still, which is a brilliant film, I think. Forbidden Planet, you know, what was the one
War
that
of
you
the
mentioned that I
Worlds,
do love as well? World of the Worlds. Mhm. Absolutely.
classic,
Yeah. Classic. Really classic. And there are classics in the genre. There truly are. And
absolutely,
Forbidden Planet is
and
actually based on The Tempest by Shakespeare, so there you go.
good old Shakespeare,
Good old Willie. He's lived through us all for a long time. Love it.
right?
Oh, I wanted to mention that I had just discovered that it was edited by Virgil Vogel. Virgil Vogel, yes, became a very well-respected TV and film director, and I think and his debut film, what I read was The Mole People. But he went on to do tons of television and a lot of stuff. But he was, I think, on staff as one of the editors at Universal Studios, and so he was the editor. But when I saw his name, I went, "Oh my god, I can't believe it!" So it had top-notch people from the flora.
Clifford Stein, who was the cinematographer, not only did he do This Island Earth, but he was involved with Spartacus,
Oh
Patton.
wow,
Those
oh
were some of his
wow,
big
top-notch.
Operation Petticoat,
Oh yeah,
Imitations of
okay.
Life. Yeah, so
Imitation of Life. Wow.
yeah,
Oh my god. Okay,
he's
he's yeah
he's done some popular hits, and
yeah.
yeah,
Universal brought a big, great, well-respected crew cast together. And I want to shout out to the screenwriters. So I think after having read Nothing Against Raymond F. Jones, actually, I find some of that fun kitsch stuff. The book was a little odd, but Frank Cohen and Edward G. O'Callahan did the screenplay, and I think they brought it to life. I think they did a really great job.
yeah, and I've been trying to find the book to read, so I'm hoping to like actually find it to.
If you can't find it, let me know. It might have to be a birthday present for you, Ben. I still need to get you the CD. I can't believe I can't send you the playlist.
At least I
Yeah.
got a little bit of it so I can hear that gorgeous melody. I mean, my gosh.
Oh.
Even before you said you were listening to it before our talk, and I was
Yes.
listening to it,
Mhm.
getting into the feel of it, and that was nice.
Yeah. It absolutely gives you that cozy sci-fi feeling. Oh, I love this that you brought this up, and you brought it up. What would have been extended? I agree with you. What I would have loved to have seen more of is Ruth's relationship with Exeter, in meaning that what she's learned from him and about him, other than the shape of his head, which they have that little, right. There's so much more. There could have been so much more, but and to
I
get more
understand that they have the
time, yeah.
they have to get the pacing going and keep the film going. They can't add in those extra
Exactly.
things that we want to hear.
That's right. And that we wanna hear now in 2025, because back in the day, I'm wondering how many teenagers really would have cared. They wanted to
Right.
get on the flying saucer and on to the new planet and the love story, all that kinda stuff for them. But,
Exactly.
yes, Ben and I wanna see a new and improved, not improved. It's perfect film for me, actually, is the way it is, but I love this. One more question here. I loved your
Mhm.
idea. How does watching this in 2025 feel different than when it was released? Well, being that this is way before both of our times, I can only imagine what it was like to see this on a big screen. But I think we did say, I think it holds up really well.
Yeah, I agree. Everything seems to meld together really nicely. The art direction is so fabulous with the matte paintings behind some of the but it doesn't, to me it doesn't look too fake. It looked like it worked, especially with the colors that they chose to, and the Technicolor aspect of it. Vibrances of the purple hazes and the dark colors
Mhm.
all blending together, the green planet, and
Mhm.
everything just still looked really good, and nothing really went like, "Oh, this looks dated." Even
Yeah,
the
right.
costumes perhaps are dated, but you can't,
A little
really
bit.
avoid that. But in terms of, not really though, I'm not really, like, sitting there going like, "Oh, well, this doesn't look like
Mm,
it could be modernized," or anything. Like, it looks pretty modern by comparison to other films, so.
I agree. Yeah. I totally agree. And
And
that's, yeah.
even the
I love
special effects are not. I think one time we were talking about Plan 9 from Outer Space, and how,
Yes.
how with that, you can totally see the wires hanging, and it's a totally different style
Yes.
of
Yeah.
filmmaking altogether. But, that could have
Yes.
happened in this 1955 film, where if they didn't have the budget that they had, it would have been more
Right.
campy, I think, and more so bad it's good type vibe to it. But because
Right.
you can see that they put the money where it needed to go, and it wasn't just to get a star, it was to get, the star of the show was the planet and the space travel and the spaceship. Like, that was the important stuff that people really wanted to see, and they got that completely right.
Yeah, they sure did. They sure did. And again, I don't know. I mean, there are people that are really, much more versed in mid-century sci-fi than I am, but I don't recall all the films I've ever seen. This was the first one, like I had mentioned, that you really felt like you were on a flying saucer and what it would be like to be on there. And,
Exactly.
I just wanted to go into all those weird rooms that they, with these electric doors and, uh, it was just, it was just fascinating, just so fascinating.
Yeah, and the interior of the spaceship, it looks exactly like you might think it would look inside they're sitting there hovering back and forth using
Those great
dials and
chairs.
knobs, but it's not like, it's not overtly computerized, like we've seen science fiction films where, like, the computer has all the buttons, bells, whistles, and just beeping, 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 where this was more, have more better power, and everything can be hidden better, and everything is set up better, as opposed to, like, having everything right in front of you.
Right. Right, exactly, exactly. A lot more subtle, a lot more, finesse to what they had. But you remember when there was the one woman, the Metalunan one woman, right, who was there that was helping them get into the tubes? She
Right.
had this dial thing. Did you notice the dial with the different colors? Remember that, you're probably too young, but you remember the game Simon,
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
where
I know
you push
Simon.
the thing? Okay. Okay, all right,
Yep.
that's what it looked like. That's
Yeah,
what it
it
looked like. I'm
did.
thinking, "Okay, they must have influenced these people,
I'm sure they did. I mean, Simon is definitely a science fiction style game.
It sure is. Oh my God, I love that game. Yeah, yeah. The more we talk about it, we could go on forever, but the more we talk about it, the more I think of films that I saw later on in the 70s that were possibly influenced by this. There was one film that I read about that was, E.T. E.T. and Close Encounters, I think. Close Encounters might have had a lot of this too with the Simon type thing. But I didn't remember this from E.T. that there is a section of it or scene where they're actually on TV is the picture of the flying saucer taking them up. It's been
Yes,
so
I
long since
remember.
I've seen it. Okay.
I
I
remember
don't know if he
reading
was
about that.
watching TV or yeah, I don't know which characters were watching TV, but that was, an homage or a salute of the hat to that film as well in E.T.
Exactly. It's nice
Yeah.
to see those little bits and pieces show up in various films and be like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, oh yeah." The tongue-in-cheek
Right.
moments that,
I love
um
it.
it's great when, especially in the 1970s, when they started getting back into science fiction horror,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where they would bring somebody from the original to come. Like if it had been remade in the 70s, they probably would have brought back some of the actors to be a part of it. And
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was great with Kevin McCarthy and the remake of Invaders of the Body Snatchers coming, "Get
right,
out!" Yeah, that was
they're
great.
out, they're coming to get
Um
you.
And in the original Halloween too, if you see when the kids are watching the show, it was he tipped his hat, John Carpenter tipped his hat with The Thing, the original Thing, which he
Right.
went on to do a remake of, which was I'm not really partial to remakes, but his remake of The Thing, my husband turned me onto
Is
it. Brilliant.
it's it's an underrated film that people really, like, at the time, like, hated it so much, and I watched it and I was like, "It's intense, man. It's
Yeah.
it's so fascinating to watch," and it has become a huge influence on many filmmakers, and
Mhm.
it's the thing is, I like both the remake and the original because 'cause they're totally different.
I do too.
Totally different.
Completely agree. I love them both. Yeah, and I remember my husband was the one that really turned me on. He said, "You've seen The Thing." Of course, I've seen The Thing, but he said, "Did you see the remake?" And this was many years ago, and he said, "Well, I want you to see it." So and I thought, "Wow." Again, this was many years ago, but how did I miss this? And he said, "The release time. They released it at the same summer that E.T. came out." So it was sort of like swept under a rug. Well, we're going on to a
Right.
different subject, but, it was like that's how we missed it, but I agree. I loved it
Well,
for
and
great example of
to
a remake. Yeah.
kind of bring it back to This Island Earth,
Mhm.
the fact that everything worked out with the production, with the PR of this, the marketing, and putting the money there. Like, had this not had enough of that backing like Universal wanted, it would have probably been swept under the rug and forgotten about. And so if it
Right.
hadn't been a hit on its own, it may have stopped some of the science fiction, especially for Universal Studios.
Yeah. Right. Well, so I think I read the same thing that it was a pretty successful box office hit, but they came to re-release it in 1960, I think, and then it was originally released as a double bill with Invaders from Mars from 1953 in the theaters. Then they
Perfect.
re-released it in 60, and then yes, right? Wouldn't that have been fabulous? And then in 1964, they released it to the drive-ins on a double bill with Forbidden Planet, which I think was released the year after. Was it in 56 or 57? 57, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it was right after this. This is what they were trying to get This Island Earth out before Forbidden Planet comes out so we can jump on the bandwagon before they do.
Right. Right. There you go. And they did. But, oh, wouldn't you love to be at a drive-in watching that double bill?
Oh my gosh. Either Forbidden Planet double bill or the Invaders from Mars double bill. I mean, that is genius marketing for that.
It totally is, and I swear, if I ever won the lotto in life, I would build a drive-in and have a flying saucer-shaped snack bar, and we would play nothing but these films. And we would also get some
Perfect.
of the Universal horror on, in October, of course, you'd have to do that, but
Right. Right, of course.
Have a seasonal thing going. Yes. But I love this.
Nope.
I always go up to my husband just out of the blue and just do the breathy Dr. Ruth Adams, "Is they on a planet?" I just love that line. That's my favorite line. Is planet? Is it?
Right.
I don't know, Dr. Ruth.
I'm flattered that you think I'm that girl.
To start off with, Cal, I am a girl from Vermont.
Oh, we love Ruth. She's so good. She's so fun.
Oh, I love Ruth. She is. I really wanna find the documentary where Rex Reason was interviewed, and is it on the new Blu-ray? Because I
It
saw it and
is. It
it is,
is,
okay, well, I'm
it
gonna
is
get
on the Blu-ray. So I was gonna try to see if I can find that Blu-ray so I could get and watch that as well, because I'd love to have, like,
Oh,
inside scoops on all this,
instead.
because the others are
Yeah.
more fan-based, and
Right.
they're great,
Right.
but they're not, like,
Yeah.
actual, like, "I was involved in this production, so blah, 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 blah."
Right. Right. I did read, and I probably read the same thing, but, apparently at the premiere, Rex Reason and Jeff Morrow were so embarrassed by the slacks that the mutant wore that they had to do everything they could not to leave. And it was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, come on, guy."
yeah, I read that
Yeah.
Jeff Morrow, like, would put a hat on and, like, sneak out of the theater so not to be seen. I'm like, "Oh, that's too bad," because the movie is not it's a really good movie. I mean, I know I understand their sentiment
Yeah,
because they probably was
sure.
hoping for, like, the nicer style legs and not to be too, because that's where the campiness kinda comes into, and
It
where you're
does.
like, "Oh, this is," you can definitely tell the age of the film because of that. But
Yeah.
knowing the fact that they actually wanted to do something that just didn't work for the time that it was made, I mean, it's like, it's like,
Right.
"Oh, if only it had," but, you know,
It
but
only
we take
uh,
what we get with these old films, so
you do, and it's part of the charm. It totally is part of the charm, but you gotta know those polyester slacks were very hot and uncomfortable.
yes, I
Oh
read
my god.
that the actor involved who was a stuntman, it was, like, the
Uh-huh.
most uncomfortable thing he had to wear. It wasn't like nowadays where you have internal air conditioning to help you combat the heat, but I can only imagine just how hot that,
Oh,
and wearing that huge mask and heavy it is,
oh god.
and you have to, and of course there's no sound coming from no talking from the man, so
Mutant.
he's just, like,
Right,
trying to use
right.
his arms to do everything himself, so it's like a really tricky performance to have it come off to be as scary but still
He
believable
and he
that
did
just
it.
pinchers are coming right at you. Exactly.
He pulled it off, but oh my god, well, all the costumes, that kind of glossy kind of polyester, whatever it was made out of, I'm assuming polyester, it did look pretty uncomfortable, and that was a little blurb too. I'd love to know if it was true, but Faith Demerg said apparently that the slacks they had her in were so tight that she could not wear underwear, and they had to have a female wardrobe person help get her into 'em. I mean,
God.
I'm wondering, but that's it's a little aside for you and me, Ben. One can
Right.
only imagine, poor Faith.
I mean,
Ah,
as we know from a lot of these older films, the production that they had to go through, the costumes that they had to wear at the time, and to make things look the way they were, how hot everything was with the lights on them, and I can just imagine. It might have been thrilling, but also I can imagine how stressful a lot of it would have been.
yeah, absolutely, and what they put up with, and also talking about when that was a real lake, I'm assuming, when they go from the to hide out without being, zapped by the light before they get on the flying saucer. Another thing she said was that water was ice, I mean, freezing ice cold. I'm thinking, "Well, it was a lake, what do you expect?" But I'm thinking they couldn't have, you know, I don't know.
Well, and of course she's wearing a dress, so it's not like she's wearing slacks to help. She's wearing
No,
a dress,
right.
so she's in the elements
Sexy little
with her
dress.
legs, so
Right.
it's like, I can only imagine how cold it was, and the fact that she had to
Oh
dunk
my
under to hide and come back up, it's like, oh,
ye
I
oh
can only imagine.
god.
It's like, "Please, please dry me off quickly so I don't
Yeah.
catch cold."
God. Oh, I love that dress she wore too. This is another aside, but that white dress with the sparkly, it looks so outer space
Oh,
to
yeah,
me. Remember in
absolutely.
Shangri-La, as you call it? Yes. Darling. Love it.
All right, now we're going to talk about Rise. And Rise is a nitro cold brew coffee. And I'm not always one to drink nitro coffee very often
Mhm.
because usually I want something hot and not cold.
I'm
But
with you.
this looked fascinating because the cover art reminded me of a 1950s
Yeah,
science fiction movie, and the way that
absolutely.
the everything looks about it, and it's a canister that's shaped like could be like a spaceship style or something. It really works in that respect. So that's why I thought that this would be a really fun coffee to put
Great
together with
choice.
this island Earth. Rise was founded in 2015, so not too long ago, by a group of friends, and they started Rise Brewing Company in Brooklyn, New York, and it just began as a cold brew set up in their apartment, and then they got a brewery in Connecticut and started to do it. Their mission was to create high quality, organic, non GMO, dairy free cold brews with clean, easy to pronounce ingredients and delivers energy for the good people who do good things. So I love their mission,
Yes.
especially when you're trying to find high quality. You can always tell with the high quality of any type of coffee, the taste is always so much better than something that may have been chemically done later on.
Absolutely. Mhm.
So one interesting thing I was mentioning about, I think a little earlier about this coffee is the fact that your black coffee, the Nitro
Mhm.
blend, has 180 milligrams of caffeine per 7-ounce
Oh, I'm
can.
feeling it.
And as I read,
I'm
it
feeling it.
it's roughly double the typical espresso shot. So it's like, woof.
Oh
And
my
I remember, and I, I remember when I tasted it before, and I was like,
uh
whoa, and that's another reason why I typically don't have nitro brews very often, because it is a very intense
Yeah.
caffeinated beverage. So if you're not ready to handle that kind of thing, I would suggest just sipping it slowly or just have a little bit of a sip, or you could do what I did recently. Like yesterday, was going to pick up the black coffee, but they were sold out, so I got the oat milk latte. Now, if you're not a black coffee drinker and you prefer more mochas and lattes, then I highly recommend this. And it's oat milk, so it's dairy free,
Mhm.
but the taste is actually quite good, and it's still got
Mm.
that smooth texture. That's the thing about nitro brews, is the smoothness and the foam. It almost is like you're drinking almost what like a beer would taste like if you were to
I
have a
agree. It's like an
draft beer.
ale. Yeah.
And that's pretty much
Yes.
what they do, is they have it set up in that type of pulling draft, and then it comes out
Mm.
nicely for you. So and the creaminess of it and the smooth feel to it. And it is a bit the stronger side, but the strong bitterness doesn't overpower the velvety texture that it comes with, especially with the foam that comes with it. That really helps
Mhm.
keep things balanced, I think, which is
Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
difficult to do, is because, with cold brews, you're pouring it over the ice. So it makes it
Right.
stronger, the bitterness comes out even more sometimes because of that.
Ah,
And
yeah.
so that's why I was kind of like looking at these various nitro brews to see how they compared with iced coffee. And they are much more of a slick, luxurious feel to it, I think, is a good way to feel. It's like a
Mhm.
very luxurious experience with the velvety and the style, the
It is.
fluidity of it.
And we were talking too about the notes. There's like a beautiful kind of bouquet to it. It's a kind of a
Absolutely.
yeah, it
It
smells it's
has,
just delicious, chocolatey.
well, you mentioned the chocolate, which I do remember smelling the scent of chocolate in there. And also there are some spices that seem to come out, especially in the one you were drinking with the Nitro Brew Black. You were saying nutmeg, and I remember there was like nutmeg, cinnamon style feel to it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't overpowering that spices can do, but
No,
just
no,
enough that
not
you
at all.
kind of like get
Mm.
into it. But it does not have what it doesn't have that many coffees do have. There's no citrus taste to it. There's
Mm.
no pickups
Yeah.
of fruit flavors in it. So it's very much kind of like a Guinness or a stout, where it is the chocolate feel to it, chocolate taste, chocolate smells, chocolate scents more. And of
Yes.
course the latte has more sugar in it. So however they
Mhm.
use the sugars, it adds more of that to that effect. So it makes it even sweeter. Whereas the Nitro Brew
Mhm.
Black is just completely black coffee.
It really is. And yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of iced coffees or cold coffee and black coffee. I like a hot cup of coffee, but this is actually quite delicious. I mean, it really is.
I think if you're interested in trying a cold coffee, for example, I would
Mhm.
suggest the Nitro over a regular cold brew because of the fact that it's not as intense bitterness as other coffees can
Mhm.
be. And a lot of people,
Mm.
that's why they put cream and sugar in their coffee, is to get rid of that bitterness of the coffee. Whereas this does not have so much bitterness that you're like, oh my God, I can't drink this anymore. So
Not at
that's
all.
why I
No.
would recommend Rise. Definitely.
Mhm.
And even other
Definitely.
brands of cold brews are pretty similar in style, texture. It just might be whatever beans that they're using might have a different taste to it.
Right. Right. But I love the idea too. It's totally USDA organic, dairy free. I mean, I'm so pleasantly surprised. I wasn't sure when you said, well, it's a little strong, but it's like when I poured it out, it's exactly what it reminded me. It was like a Guinness stout
Yep.
and
So
really delightful.
if you're into that type of beer flavor and beer style with the stouts,
Mhm.
this definitely reminisces of that and definitely feels that in the
Yeah.
coffee world. And I love when coffee worlds
Mhm.
and the beer world and the wine world, when they kind of coexist together, it's very much a lovely experience for the most part. And
Yeah.
yeah, I was too.
Yeah.
I wasn't exactly sure how this was going to be, but I would definitely buy it again for that type of.
Me too.
It's definitely worth seeking out if you can find it, and you can find it at most grocery stores, like especially Whole Foods, Pavilions, Bristol Farms, specialty coffee places. Usually will have
Yep.
items like this. Yeah, it's definitely a good one, and goes well
It
with
is
one thing I thought
outer
about
space
was.
flight.
Right, exactly. I thought of would to pull it back into what the film was like, it reminded me of, like, this is what Cal Meacham should have been drinking when he was flying in his machine. Like, it should have been served coffee. That coffee should have been served to him while he was waiting on the plane.
He never would have slept, but that would have been okay.
Right,
He would wide awake
exactly.
when he landed.
Exactly. He would have been wired and
Still
ready
on
to go.
landing. Ready to go. Ready to put together another interocitor. Oh my goodness. Yes. Love
Well,
it.
this was a
Thank
lovely experience, Danielle, and I'm
thank
so grateful that you were able to tell me about this film and put
you.
me in touch with more science fiction elements that I kind of, while I enjoy, I was still like, I'm not really seeking them out always, but this always gets
Mhm.
me back into that fantasy world of sci-fi. And I love space and astronomy, so it really was lovely to just see it in its full glory like that, and really done very well.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad and thank you. And I'm loving your show. I'm loving it. And this is just I got so excited when you told me you were doing this and I just thought, "Oh, this is gonna be great." And it's right up my alley. So, congratulations on all fronts of that. And
Thank you.
I
Yes, and
have,
this is episode 10. So we've hit a milestone with episode 10.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Love it.
and
I never miss
I
one.
thought
Love it.
this would be a perfect way to celebrate the 10th episode with a fun space opera and
Um,
nitro
like,
cold brew.
and I'm gonna be keep sipping this, and I may just watch this film all over again, sipping my
There
cold
you
brew,
go.
my rise.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Ben. Always a pleasure
Thank you.
chit-chatting with you.
Thank you for joining us here at Real Beans. A special thanks to Danielle Aubuchon for co-hosting this episode with me. Be sure to check out her website. The link will be in the show notes. Reaching episode 10 is a big milestone for me, and I'm excited for all the fun films and exciting coffees ahead. Keep tuning in as we explore more hidden gems, revisit classics that deserve another look, and finally check off some titles that have been on my list for far too long. For updates, recommendations, and blog posts, visit realbeans.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at real_beans. If you'd like to support the show, visit realbeans.com/support. That's all for today. Let's return from the cosmos and remember, sip, watch, repeat.